A simple invitation from an alien girl led me to a world beyond dreams, and a shocking truth. The Navigator's Folly. Commander Leona West tapped frantically at her console as warning lights bathed the cockpit in crimson. Her navigation system, supposedly the pride of the Solar Federation's fleet, displayed a cheerful blue error message. Recalculating route, please stand by. Stand by for what? My funeral, Leona muttered, slamming her palm against the unresponsive panel. The stars outside her viewport stretched into brilliant streaks as the emergency thrusters engaged, sending her vessel tumbling toward an uncharted celestial body glowing with an ethereal azure light. She'd been on a routine supply run to the mining outpost on Centauri Roman 4 when the nav system suddenly decided that up was down, and the safest route involved plunging through an unstable nebula. Now she was facing an impromptu landing on a moon that, according to her charts, didn't exist. The ship screamed in protest as it pierced the thin atmosphere, metal plates contracting under sudden pressure. Leona gripped the manual controls, fighting to establish some semblance of stability. "Come on, Valkyrie, don't fail me now," she pleaded with her vessel, pulling back on the throttle as the surface rushed up to meet her. The landing, if one could call it that, was a symphony of screeching metal and shattering components. The ship skidded across iridescent blue plains before grinding to a halt against a formation of crystalline spires. The silence that followed was almost as jarring as the crash itself. Leona blinked away the disorientation, checking her suit's diagnostics, green across the board, which seemed impossible given the state of her ship. She released her harness, wincing at the sharp pain in her ribs, and made her way to the emergency hatch. Outside, the landscape defied logic. The sky hung in perpetual twilight, neither day nor night, bathed in a soft blue glow that seemed to emanate from the ground itself. Crystal formations dotted the horizon, some towering like skyscrapers, others huddled in clusters like sleeping animals. When Leona's boots touched the surface, the crystals nearest her hummed in response, a melodic vibration that sent shivers up her spine. Atmospheric composition within human tolerance, her suit reported, though oxygen levels are minimal. Extended exposure not recommended. Perfect, Leona said, surveying the damage to her ship. The Valkyrie resembled a crumpled paper airplane, its hull breached in multiple places, engine compartments venting coolant that sizzled when it touched the moon's surface. "I'm properly marooned on the galaxy's most musical light show." That's when she noticed movement on a nearby ridge. A silhouette stood perfectly still, watching her. As Leona's eyes adjusted to the strange light, she could make out more details, a slender figure wrapped in clothing that seemed to absorb and reflect the ambient glow in equal measure. But most striking were the being's features. Skin with a faint luminescence, eyes large and almond-shaped, and elongated, pointed ears that twitched slightly as they assessed the newcomer. Leona raised both hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Hello there, I come in peace, and by accident, mostly accident to be honest." The figure descended with graceful, deliberate steps. She came closer, Leona could see intricate markings along her neck and temples, glowing with the same blue energy that permeated the landscape. "You are far from your path, Skycrosser," the being said, her voice melodic yet somber, with an accent that made each word sound like it was being carefully unwrapped. "That's putting it mildly," Leona replied, gesturing to her mangled ship. "Name's Commander Leona West. My navigation system went haywire and I had an unplanned meeting with your moon." "I am Thyra," the being replied, studying Leona with uncanny intensity. "This is not a moon. It is Nivar, the last refuge." "Refuge from what?" Thyra's expression remained unreadable. "Follow, the night winds come soon, they are unkind to visitors." Leona glanced back at her ship. The emergency beacon was active, but even if the Solar Federation received the signal, rescue was days away at best. "Lead on, Thyra. I hope there's food where we're going, preferably something that doesn't glow." Thyra turned without comment and began walking along a path that seemed to illuminate with each step. The crystal formations around them hummed louder as they passed, almost as if acknowledging Thyra's presence. The path wound upward through fields of smaller crystals that pulsed like heartbeats, leading to what appeared to be a network of structures built seamlessly into the mountainside. "So," Leona ventured, "those markings on your skin, are they tattoos or—" "They are memory lines," Thyra answered without turning. "Each connects to the ancestry of my lineage." "They're beautiful," Leona said sincerely. "They look like constellations." This earned her a brief sideways glance from Thyra, something flickering in those large eyes, surprise, perhaps, or recognition. As they climbed higher, Leona noticed strange vibrations emanating from the path beneath her feet, almost like whispers just below the threshold of hearing. "Is the ground talking?" "The pathways remember all who walk them," Thyra said. "They are speaking to you, though you cannot yet understand." Yet that sounds promising or ominous. I'm going with ominous. Thyra stopped suddenly, turning to face Leona fully. You speak when silence would serve better. Leona grinned, old habit. When you spend months alone in deep space, you start talking to yourself, or your ship, or the void. The void is actually a great listener. For the first time, Thyra's expression softened slightly. Perhaps that is why you heard the calling. What calling? I told you my nav system malfunctioned. Did it? Thyra resumed walking, this time at a brisker pace. They arrived at an opening in the crystal mountain, not a cave but an archway of impossible geometry, angles that seemed to fold into themselves. Beyond lay a settlement unlike anything Leona had ever seen. Structures spiraled upward, connected by bridges of light that formed and dissolved as needed. Beings similar to Thyra moved about with purposeful grace, their memory lines glowing in patterns unique to each individual. Several stopped to stare at Leona, their expressions ranging from curiosity to alarm. She felt acutely aware of her humanity, her rounded ears, her stockier build, the dullness of her skin compared to their luminescence. What are your people called? Leona asked quietly. We are Naivari, Thyra replied, the last echoes of the first harmony. Before Leona could ask more, an elderly Naivari approached, his memory lines so elaborate they covered most of his visible skin. His eyes, when they settled on Leona, widened in what could only be described as recognition. The resonance stirs, he said, his voice carrying despite its softness. After 10,000 cycles, the Starfall Protocol awakens. Thyra bowed her head. Elder Varen, this is Commander Leona West. She fell from the sky. Not fell, Elder Varen corrected, circling Leona slowly. Returned. A murmur passed through the gathering crowd. Leona shifted uncomfortably. Look, I appreciate the warm welcome, but I just need repairs and maybe a ride home. I'm not part of any protocol. Elder Varen gestured toward a central structure taller than the others. Come, the heart chamber waits. Thyra touched Leona's arm lightly. It would be unwise to refuse. Why? Because, Thyra said, lowering her voice, you are the first human to reach Naivar since the severance, and the crystals sing for you as they have not sung for millennia. Leona realized then that the humming she'd heard since landing had grown stronger in her presence, resonating not just around her but somehow through her. She looked down at her hands, half expecting them to be glowing like the Naivari's memory lines. They weren't, but there was something beneath her skin, a faint luminescence in her veins that definitely hadn't been there before. What's happening to me? She whispered. You begin to remember, Elder Varen said simply, as was foretold. As they led her toward the towering heart chamber, Leona noticed something odd about the Naivari settlement. Amid the organic, flowing structures were artifacts of distinctly human design, panels with Terran script, doorways built to human proportions, tools that would fit a human hand perfectly. Those are Terran, she said, pointing. How did they get here? Thyra exchanged a glance with Elder Varen. They were brought by the first visitors, those who helped forge the Starfall Protocol before the Great Divide. Inside the heart chamber, a massive crystal dominated the central chamber, floating unsupported above a reflective pool. Unlike the blue glow of the landscape outside, this crystal pulsed with a golden light that seemed to intensify as Leona approached. The heart The Heartstone, Elder Varen explained, the last fragment of the bridge between our worlds. Thyra stepped forward. Touch it, Skycrosser. If the protocol lives, you will know. Leona hesitated, and if it doesn't? Then we have all been deceived by myth, Elder Varen said, and you may return to your stars never to remember what was lost. With a deep breath, Leona reached toward the hovering crystal. The moment her fingertips brushed its surface, the world disappeared in a flash of golden light. Images flooded her mind, a massive ship bearing Earth's emblem, a catastrophic event that tore space itself, desperate survivors finding sanctuary on a world that sang with crystal energy. Naivari and humans working together, fusing technologies, creating something new. When her vision cleared, Leona found herself on her knees, gasping. Thyra knelt beside her, concern evident in her large eyes. What did you see? The Naivari asked. Leona looked up at the Heartstone, now pulsing in rhythm with her own heartbeat. I saw how it began, she whispered, but not how it ends. Elder Varen nodded solemnly. That, Commander West, is for you to discover. The Starfall Protocol has awakened. The path is open once more. And deep beneath the surface of Naivar, ancient systems stirred from their slumber, resonating with a frequency not felt since humanity had last walked these crystal paths. The Oracle's echo. Leona stood at the edge of the heart chamber, watching as Naivari technicians or perhaps priests moved around the pulsing heartstone. Its golden glow had settled into a steady rhythm, matching her heartbeat with unsettling precision. Her fingertips still tingled from the contact, memories that weren't hers lingering at the edges of her consciousness. The resonance is stable, Thyra said, approaching with a container of luminescent liquid. Drink, it will help anchor your mind. Leona accepted the vessel cautiously. No offense, but the last time I touched something of yours, I saw visions of the apocalypse. Thyra's lips curved slightly. The clarity water contains no memories, only sustenance. Your human body is struggling with our atmosphere. The liquid tasted like honeyed starlight if starlight had a taste, sweet yet ancient, warming Leona from within. Her head cleared immediately, the persistent ringing in her ears fatting to silence. Better, Thyra asked. Much, Leona admitted. So, are we going to talk about what I saw? Human ships, a catastrophe, our species working together, none of that is in any Federation history. Elder Varen joined them, his elaborate memory lines pulsing with increased luminosity. Because it was forgotten deliberately, he gestured toward a spiraling walkway. Come, the oracle awaits. The path led deeper into the mountain, past chambers where Nivari worked with hybrid technology, part crystal, part circuitry. Leona recognized components that resembled Terran designs, yet operated on principles her engineering training couldn't explain. How long have your people been here? She asked. Nivar has been our home for 20,000 of your Earth years, Thyra replied, but we were not always alone. They entered a vast chamber unlike the others. While most Nivari structures embraced the crystal's natural geometry, this room was clearly designed by human hands, angular, practical, with faded Terran symbols still visible on metal panels. At its center stood a platform surrounded by dormant machinery. The Oracle of Echoes, Elder Varen explained, built by the last human scientists before the severance, it contains their final message. Leona approached the platform cautiously. And you need me to, what, turn it on? We cannot, Thyra said simply. It requires human resonance, human DNA, human bioelectrical patterns we have tried for generations. A tall, imposing Nivari stepped from the shadows, his memory lines jagged and militaristic compared to the flowing patterns of the others. And if you succeed where we have failed, human, what then? The Oracle may bring truth or destruction. Commander West, this is Creven, our defense sentinel, Thyra introduced with noticeable coolness. Leona nodded to the warrior. You think I'm a threat? I think awakening the past is dangerous, Creven replied. The Starfall Protocol may have been a mistake our ancestors sealed away for good reason. Or our salvation, countered Elder Varen. The decision is not yours, Sentinel. Creven bowed stiffly and retreated, but his eyes remained fixed on Leona with unmistakable wariness. Charming fellow, Leona muttered. I'm guessing he's not my biggest fan. Creven leads those who believe humans abandoned Nivar deliberately, Thyra explained. That the severance was your choice, not necessity. Leona stepped onto the platform. Ancient systems hummed to life beneath her feet, recognizing a signature they had waited millennia to detect. For what it's worth, I have no idea what happened, but I'd like to find out. Lights flickered across the chamber's walls. A holographic interface materialized before her, standard Terran design but impossibly old. Place your hand on the scanner, Elder Varen instructed. If you truly carry the resonance, the Oracle will speak. Leona hesitated only briefly before pressing her palm against the glowing panel. The chamber plunged into darkness, then exploded with light as the Oracle activated fully. A woman's hologram appeared, a scientist in a weathered uniform bearing an insignia Leona didn't recognize, a tree made of stars. Protocol initiated, genetic match confirmed, the hologram announced. I am Dr. Nadia Volkov, Chief Science Officer of the Earth vessel Prometheus. If you're receiving this message, the Starfall Protocol has been activated. Leona stared at the woman's face. There was something eerily familiar about her features, a ghost of resemblance that made her skin prickle. The hologram continued. The year is 2157 by Earth calendar. Our exploration mission discovered Nivar and its incredible properties, crystalline structures capable of storing consciousness, energy that defies our physics. We established peace with the Nivari, learning their ways while sharing our technology. Around the chamber, Nivari watched in reverent silence as the forgotten history unfolded. Then disaster struck. A tear in spacetime, what we call the void storm, began expanding throughout this sector. Our scientists determined it would eventually encompass Earth itself. Together with Nivari elders, we created the Heartstone, a hybrid technology capable of sealing the breach. Images appeared showing humans and Nivari working side by side, constructing a massive device. The sealing was successful but came at a terrible cost. The energy discharge created a quantum barrier between Earth and Nivar. No communication or travel would be possible for centuries, perhaps millennia. Most humans chose to return to Earth before the final sealing, but some of us stayed, knowing we could never. We established the Starfall Protocol, a genetic resonance pattern encoded into our descendants and linked to the Heartstone. When the quantum barrier weakened enough, someone carrying our genetic signature would find their way back to Nivar. You. Leona's breath caught in her throat. That's impossible. I'm just a cargo pilot who took a wrong turn. The hologram smiled sadly. There are no wrong turns in a universe of quantum entanglement, Commander. Your presence here means the barrier is failing, and with it, the seal on the void storm. Elder Varen stepped forward. The prophecy of return speaks of this. When the Starchild returns, the void awakens. Not a prophecy, Leona realized, a warning. Dr. Volkov's hologram nodded. Beneath Nivar lies the core chamber, the true heart of the Starfall Protocol. It contains the master controls for the quantum seal. You must reactivate it before the void storm breaches containment. And how exactly am I supposed to do that? Leona demanded. The Heartstone is the key. It contains the combined knowledge of both our peoples and my personal genetic imprint which you carry. Leona felt the blood drain from her face. You're my ancestor. Yes, and I'm sorry for the burden this places on you, but you're the only one who can complete what we started. The hologram began to fade, power systems struggling to maintain the ancient recording. Find the core chamber, use the Heartstone, seal the void, save both our worlds. With those final words, the oracle went silent. The chamber remained illuminated by the residual glow of activated systems, humming with renewed purpose. Creven was the first to break the silence. So the human brings destruction as I feared. No, Thyra countered. She brings truth and possibly salvation. The void storm threatens all life, not just Nivar. Leona's mind raced, trying to process everything. If what she said is true, Earth could be in danger too. I need to contact the Federation. Impossible, Elder Varen said. The quantum barrier still exists, though weakened. No signal can penetrate it. Then we need to find this core chamber, Leona decided. How deep are we talking? The deepest level, Thyra replied. The hollow deep. No Nivari has ventured there in generations. The pathways are unstable, the Guardians still active. Guardians. Automated defense systems, Creven explained, his tone softening slightly. Created to protect the core from those who lack the proper authentication. Leona laughed humorlessly. Let me guess, human DNA again. Yes, Elder Varen confirmed, but the journey itself is perilous. The hollow deep isn't just a place, it's the boundary between realities where the quantum seal was anchored. The chamber doors burst open as a young Nivari rushed in, panic evident in his glowing eyes. Elder, the crystals at the northern ridge have begun to darken. The void patterns are appearing. A murmur of fear rippled through the gathered Nivari. Leona looked to Thyra for explanation. When crystals darken on Nivar, it means they're being consumed by void energy, Thyra said grimly. The seal is breaking faster than we anticipated. How long do we have? Leona asked. Days, perhaps hours, Elder Varen replied. The void storm grows exponentially once it breaches containment. Creven stepped forward, all previous hostility vanished. I will assemble a guide party. The human Commander West will need protection if she is to reach the hollow deep. I'm going too, Thyra declared. When Creven began to protest, she added, my memory lines contain the ancient pathways, you know this. Elder Varen nodded solemnly. It is decided, prepare quickly, time is against us. As the Nivari dispersed, Leona found herself alone with Thyra by the dormant oracle platform. All this time, Leona said quietly, your people were waiting for someone like me. What if I'm not what Dr. Volkov hoped for? I'm just a pilot, not a scientist or hero. Thyra's luminescent eyes studied her with unexpected warmth. The Heartstone chose you, Leona West, and I have seen how your kind faces impossible odds. It is what makes humans remarkable. Leona smiled despite herself. That might be the nicest thing you've said to me. Don't grow accustomed to it, Thyra replied, the ghost of a smile playing on her lips. We have a long journey ahead. Within the hour, they departed for the depths of Nivar. Leona, Thyra, Creven, and 3 Nivari specialists skilled in crystal navigation. The Heartstone, now contained in a portable chamber, pulsed steadily at Leona's side as they descended toward the hollow deep. Above them, the perpetual twilight of Nivar's sky began to darken at its edges, tendrils of void energy creeping into reality. The quantum seal was failing, and with it, the barrier between worlds. What had begun as a navigation error was revealing itself as something far more profound, a reconnection between two peoples separated by time, space, and forgotten history. As they entered the ancient tunnels leading downward, the crystals around them sang with increasing urgency. They weren't just responding to Leona's presence anymore, they were calling to her, guiding her toward humanity's lost legacy and the fate of two worlds now resting squarely on her shoulders. The Starfall Protocol had awakened, the void was stirring, and somewhere between memory and destiny, Commander